is there something particular about diving that you feel, from a mindset perspective? I mean, just to give you an example, I mean, I was reading through your bio. At one point, you were down, right? And you had to come back. And it's like, what does that look like? Okay, I'm down at football, or I'm down at, basketball, or, these different types of sports. But with diving in particular, it's an individual sport. So when you were down, like, what, and how do you come back? And then what's kind of the lesson that you can teach your kids, teach your coaching clients from, that's particular from that?
Yeah, there's so many. I mean, yeah, individual sports are what I know. So that's, and it's funny when I talk to people who are more like team sports people, we have like very different mindsets about things, which is fascinating to me. I love the mental angle, but it is very mental, because it's all on your shoulders, good or bad. It's all what you decide to do. And it's really about learning how to stay in the moment, with anything, and not be distracted by all the things that might happen, by all the things that just happen, but being able to like actively let those go and find yourself fully invested in the moment and the task at hand. Sounds so simple. It is so, so hard to implement, and then do it again and again and again, because it's a lot like golf in a way that like you do this action for, less than 2 seconds, and then you have all this time to wait and think about it in between the next round, and you'll do 5 or 6 dives per round for like a preliminaries or a finals. So there's a lot of thinking time, and that can be your best friend or your worst enemy. So, and fear is very big in my sport as well. Obviously, the higher you go, the scarier it can be, the harder the impact can be. And so overcoming fear is a really big thing. And I've dealt with that a lot, in my sport as well. And so that's something where I'm constantly teaching people that, like, as big and as real as fear feels, it's just a feeling. It's not real, and it only has the power over you that you allow it to. And so, we talk a lot about how to recognize fear for what it is and how to move beyond it. And that is really what I've learned. Probably the best feeling in the whole world is overcoming such a road blocking, journey stopping fear. When you find a way to move past that, I mean, that's better than any Olympic gold medal. I've stood on the top of the podium. I've gotten an Olympic gold medal. And I will tell you now that conquering fear feels better than that. Like, it is so fulfilling in such a different way, and nobody sees that. Nobody gives you that round of applause for that. But that's something inside that feels so amazing.
That's that inner competitor. I mean, you versus you. And I know we've talked about that before on the show. It's like, for you to have this conversation with yourself, I'm assuming you've done some mind work, meditation, stillness practice, like to just strengthening the relationship with you. So Laura, can you speak to that just a little bit? Like, what are some strategies that you've done over the last, 2 decades of really being at your peak, and going into motherhood? Like, what are some of the strategies of best practices of winning that mental game that maybe you could share?
Um,
Not
it's
even winning it, just playing it, because winning it
Yeah.
means there's a loser. More of playing the game.
Right. Well, and anytime you conquer yourself, I would say that's pretty darn awesome. Like, that is a champion. Like, a champion doesn't just stand on the top of the podium. Like, you have to become a champion to even have an opportunity to stand at the top of the podium. That's kind of how it is in my mind. And so conquering yourself and learning how to handle yourself in those situations is really what makes you a champion, medal or not. And so I think a big part of it, it started for me with my faith, and my trust in God, and having to learn that on that journey, because I very much made a mess of my life and had to start trusting Him with it in some of the scariest moments. And I feel like He taught me so many things throughout diving that I've now been able to, play into my life, and that I'm learning now, have all these like science backgrounds of like visualization and mindfulness and all these things that I'm learning about that I was doing because I was prayerful and because I was trying to let go of myself and do something for Him instead. So it's really cool that I've kind of learned how He taught me all these things because of my journey in seeking Him, that are now like playing out, and I'm teaching other people in a different way. But I love it. I mean, I think being mindful, that practice of just learning to be in the moment, is so important. We were just talking about that. Staying in the moment is the most important thing you can do to allow all that preparation and all that work that you've done to come to fruition. Because if you're not in the moment, if you're worried about the results, if you're worried about what you just screwed up over here, you're not in the moment, and you're not giving this task at hand like your full attention, and you're not going to do it well. Like, it won't be as good if you're not in the moment. So learning how to fully let go of everything else and be present, And then also, like I said, letting go. Like that sounds, again, these things always sound so simple, but the act of doing it is not simple. Letting go of a devastating dive, like this happened at 2008 trials. I'd already been to 2 Olympic Games. I'd already won everything you can win. And here I am at the trials, and I was nervous. And so I did a really stupid action on my dive because I wasn't in the moment. I was trying too hard and I did the wrong things, and I smacked and I got 3s on a dive. You know, you wanted 10, I got 3s, and I'm fully embarrassed. My Olympic team opportunity for the 3rd time is in jeopardy, and I'm supposed to be the best one by far out here. And I have 3 dives left. And so what do I do? Like, how do I let that go? How do you let something like that go in that important of a moment? And it's
how do
really
you, can you take us through that? Like when you, how do you take yourself through that moment? You know, like I would love to hear that.
Because I came to the point of like, look, I just screwed up really bad. And yeah, that could be the end of this. But if I'm worried about that right now, it will be the end of this. Like that's a guarantee. But if I can let it go, if I can walk up to this next dive that I know I can do really well and think about those 1 or 2 things I need to do on this dive and be confident that I am going to do that full belief that I'm going to do it right here, right now, not because of anything else, but just really honing in on that. That's how you let it go. You stop, because if I'm worried about what just happened affecting what I'm about to do, it's going to, but it's like, and then I'm definitely out. So I have to let it go and just be like, well, that sucked. But you know what? I have this dive. This is my best dive. This dive I can do for 10s. I know exactly what to do. And just being confident that I am going to, in fact, do this thing, these 1 or 2, and not focusing on every little detail, but the 1 or 2 things that you really have to like focus on. Like, and for me, it was something on the takeoff and something on the come out. And I did that, and I got straight 10s on that dive. And I secured my place on the team, for the 3rd time, and made this amazing comeback. But it wasn't a comeback. It was letting something go in order to allow myself to be in that moment. You know, people think, in the heat of battle, you rise to this occasion, but like, that's a dive I'd done really well a bunch of times. It's not like I'd never done it to that level before. It just, with all the excitement and all the atmosphere, it looks like you raise your game and your level, but really it was something I could already do. It was just in the heat of the situation, the drama of the situation, that I was able to let go. I was able to do the thing I could do really well, which looked like this phenomenal, amazing moment, which it was an amazing moment. Like, don't let me knock that down. But it really was just something I had done a million times. I just allowed myself to do it in that pressure situation. Does that make sense?